G'day, Mark from Mustard Bikes here in the workshop today with the revamp for 2025 MT-07. This is the most comprehensive overhaul Yamaha have done to this bike since the bike first came out in 2014. And because of that, we've also designed a new tail tidy for it. We're going to run you through the installation process of the tail tidy from start to finish. But before we get started, we're going to need some tools.
This install was filmed with an early release bike. Sometimes these bike designs change over time, so please check the description below to see if we've listed any changes.
To finish the job, you'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, a flat blade screwdriver, a set of sockets in an 8mm, a 10mm and a 12mm. We found the extension bar was also helpful, a 4mm Allen key and a pair of side cutters. In the box, you'll find the card that directed you to this video, a little cover plate in plastic, the base plate for the tail tidy, a bag of nuts and bolts, link wire and associated parts, and then wrapped in paper you'll find the tail tidy itself, which consists of the support arms and the face plate, which has the light pre-fitted. In the bag you'll find the link wire that makes the product plug and play, a number of cable ties, 2 countersunk bolts, 2 nylock nuts, 2 oval spacers, and 3 M6 bolts. Now we're ready to get started. We're going to start by taking the key and removing the pillion seat. Remove the seat infill panel by removing the 2 push pins. To do this, use a flat blade screwdriver to push in the centre of the pin and then remove. Use your 4mm Allen key to remove the 2 bolts holding on the rider's seat and then remove the seat itself. While you have your 4mm Allen key, remove the 6 bolts shown. Remove the 2 push pins that connect the tank infill panels to the side panels. Use your 12mm socket or spanner to remove the 2 hex head bolts shown here. Use your Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 2 screws holding in the tail light infill panel. And then remove the panel by lifting up and backwards. While we're in the tail, we're going to disconnect the wiring to the rear fender. Locate the wiring from underneath the seat lock and follow back to the plugs on either side of the bike. To free the wiring completely, use your side cutters to cut the cable tie shown here. Now we've removed all the bolts from the top side, we can move to the underside, remove the last few pins so that we can remove the side panels. Underneath the bike, remove the forward 2 push pins. Followed by the rear 2 push pins, which will allow you to remove the mudguard from the bike. To remove the side panel, we're going to have to disconnect a pin that sits in a rubber grommet just behind here. So we're going to push our fingers in behind there and just push outwards. And then you'll see that clips loose. We can then pull the panel out from the front here. You'll see at the front here, there was also a little pin just behind here, so make sure that disconnects when you're trying to pull it out. This is where the rubber grommet is. There's one on the other side too, and we remove the other side in exactly the same manner. The final step to removing the stock fender is to remove the 4 8mm bolts with your 8mm socket. Now as we remove the last bolt, just make sure you're holding onto the fender to make sure it doesn't fall to the ground. And then remove it, feeding all the wiring out as you go. So with that, the rear fender's removed. We can now take that to the bench and start to disassemble that and assemble the tail tidy. If you're fitting aftermarket indicators, you can skip the next few steps until we start assembling the tail tidy. If you're using the stock indicators, we need to remove them. We're going to use our 4mm Allen key to remove the 4 bolts on top of the stock fender. And then as you remove that last bolt, you'll see the whole assembly falls apart. With all the steel work removed, we've now got better access to the indicators. So we can feed the wiring out through here. And then to remove the indicators, we're just going to lift the rubber tab up here and take out the little keeper plate, which you can see here. And then to remove the indicators themselves, we simply grab a hold of them and pull them backwards. You'll see they'll clip out. Now it's important to take note that this is the indicator with the black plug, and that goes on the left hand side. And of course we can remove the other side. And we can then fit these indicators onto the faceplate for the tail tidy. To do this, we're going to need the 2 indicator spacers as well. So we're going to start with the right hand indicator here. We're just going to feed that through. And then to fit the indicator to the spacer, we're going to start with the thin end, pushing that through like such. And then we can fit it to the faceplate itself. And again, the same process. Now you'll find that this one's a little bit more tricky, so we're going to use our flat blade screwdriver just to help put that in. So once the indicator's seated, we can replace that keeper plate. And then of course, we do the same for the other side. With the indicators fitted, we can now assemble the tail tidy. We're going to need the support arms, as well as the 2 nylock nuts and the 2 countersunk bolts. So we're going to take the faceplate and the arms, and then we're just going to place that on top here. Take one of our countersunk bolts and feed that up from the front there, and fit one of the nylock nuts. And do that to both sides. We can then take our 10mm socket, as well as our Phillips head screwdriver to do these up. Now we have the tail tidy itself assembled, we can tidy up the wiring. So we're going to unravel this LED bolt here. And then feed that underneath. We're going to turn the whole assembly over and feed all the wiring through this main access hole. So we then take our cable ties. We're going to start off on this side. And then you'll just see on top of the arm here, there's a couple of little notches. So they're for the cable tie itself. Just going to make sure that's sitting how we'd like it to. We're also going to run a cable tie through here. And then we can use our side cutters to trim the cable ties down. Then we do the same to the other side, but this time we're going to incorporate the LED bolt wire. So we're just going to first off just do this indicator wire here. And then when we do this one here, we're going to capture that wire with it. And again, trim those off. And then lastly, we're going to come underneath. We're going to run a cable tie through these two holes here. Just make sure we've got plenty of clearance. And do that up like so. We can now fit the base plate to the tail tidy. We're going to start by feeding the wiring through the base plate. We run that up here. We'll then turn the assembly over. And then before we do this up, we're going to take the little infill panel, the plastic one, and then with the texture side facing up, we're just going to fit that over this bottom post here. And this will be a firm fit. We can then bolt the tail tidy in place using the 3 M6 bolts that came in the kit. We're going to start with the bottom post here, just to get it aligned. Then use our 4mm Allen key to put the other two in place as well. Now just be careful when you do put these in place that you don't trip the wiring underneath. And then do those up tightly. And then this assembly is ready to fit to the bike. To fit the tail tidy to the bike, we're going to start by feeding the wiring through the access hole. And then offering the tail tidy up to the bike. Then we're going to use one of the original mounting bolts just to get the tail tidy in place and hanging in there. So we can take one of the other bolts, put it in the other side. And then we can also add the 2 rear bolts. To access those, we just rotate this panel around. And then back the other way for the other side. Now, before we tighten these up, we just need to make sure that the tab for the tail light is sitting in the little slot in the base for the tail tidy. Once we're happy that that's in place, we can tighten those bolts up. We're now ready to refit the side panels, but there's a few things we need to watch when we do that. We're going to start with one side first, and we're going to move the little infill panel on the tail tidy off to the opposite side so it's out of the way. Now as we fit this, it's effectively the reverse process to removal, but when we fit it, we need to make sure that the bottom edge here sits on top of the under tray, that the little tab over here sits underneath the tail tidy, and also that this little pin here goes back into the hole in the side of the tail light. Before fitting the other side panel, rotate the cover underneath the side panel you just fitted. We can now fit the other side panel, paying attention to those same points. For the next step, we're going to need the largest two of the push pins that were removed. To reset the push pin, push the centre pin all the way outwards as shown here. Underneath the bike, rotate the cover plate until the holes align. Fit the two push pins into the holes as shown. Take the shortest two push pins and place them in the forward two holes. While we're under the bike, use your 4mm Allen key to make sure that the tail tidy is tightened correctly. On the top side, we can replace the two hex head bolts, remembering the spaces. The two flat-headed bolts using your 4mm Allen key. And the 4 button head bolts using your 4mm Allen key. Lastly, fit 2 of the remaining push pins. Refit the tail light infill panel by sliding it forwards. You can then use your Phillips head screwdriver to replace the 2 screws. Now we've got all the body panels back in place, we can start to reconnect the wiring. To do that, we're going to have to take the link wire and connect that to the LED bolt. Now this is a little counterintuitive, but you're going to have to go red to black and black to red. We can then continue by plugging in the white plug for the indicator and the black plug for the indicator, followed by the grey plug that went to the LED bolt. Finally, tidy up the wiring so that it's all neat and tidy. Before we continue, we're going to do a really quick safety check, just to make sure that all the lighting's operating correctly. So we're going to take the key, turn on the ignition, and then just check that the number plate light's lit up. If that hasn't lit up, you might need to swap the 2 wires on that link wire and see if that works correct. That might fix the problem. We're then also going to check that the indicators work on the correct sides. If they don't, and you need to swap the sides, it's as simple as swapping the white and black plugs over to the opposite connectors. The last thing I like to do, just in case we've somehow affected it, is just check that the brake light's still operating correctly. Now that we're happy that all of that's operating correctly, we can continue on by fitting the rider's seat. Refit the seat infill panel. Check the alignment of the plate mount, and if it needs adjusting, you can do so by undoing the bolts, adjusting it as needed, and then retightening the bolts. Fit the pillion seat, And the last thing to do is fit your plate. And we're all good to go for a ride. Now it's a wise idea after you have been for a few rides, just go over everything, check all the nuts and bolts are tight and that all the lighting's still operating as it should. That's the installation complete. We hope the video has helped you with your install. If you haven't yet purchased this product and you'd like to, mustardbikes.com. We carry a whole range of tail tidies for a whole range of bikes, and we also have a few other accessories for the MT-07. Don't forget to tag us in your Instagram pictures. Don't forget to get in touch with us on Facebook. We love hearing from our customers. Like and share this video, comment below. Thanks again, and thanks for watching. Sorry, I've got to work out what to say now. Thump, thump, thump. Fit the pillion seat. That was really awkward.